And she did. And so I called the police. So the police had to come and arrest her.
You've actually got the police actually arrest her, because most of the cases that I have come through, seen, is that actually the man gets arrested. So
yeah,
how did that happen?
Well, for me, it was, I said, I mean, I didn't want to get her arrested. I just said to her, look, if you do it again, I'm just going to call the police, because I wanted to, she was hitting me. And the only way someone's hitting you, what do? You have to hit them back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Even if it's, or you try and stop, but then you're fighting. And I don't want to, the last thing a guy wants to do is fight with a woman. Yeah. I don't want to do that. So I said to her, look, if you do this again, I'm just going to call the police.
Well, what happened when the police came? I know she got arrested.
Yeah, they went to me and they asked me what happened. I told them, I said, look, I was asleep. She came in, she was a bit drunk. And then they said, okay, we're gonna arrest her, which I was surprised. Yeah, and take her down to the police station. And I said, look, I don't really want that. And they said, I know, but the police officer, look, I have to do it, because if we leave it as it is and something happens, then, we've got, yeah.
You can be held responsible for that. If anything goes wrong, being the man and that kind of thing.
And I think a lot of times men, maybe men don't also, I say fight back, or, because they don't want to harm, they know they're going to, like, as soon as you touch a woman, that's it. The police are all over you, and they don't really care who started it. That's the thing. I think men have if anything happens like that, men have much less, they're not heard, they're not listened to. It's always the man's fault. Yeah. But this time was different, because I was the one that made the phone call. I said, look, because I didn't want to get into I was asleep. I was like,
you want to get into that and for it to get at hand. It's really nice that you can share that, because most men kind of feel, most of the cases I've seen, which I'm going to share with you in a minute, the men themselves actually get arrested and get removed at the house. But one of my questions to you, why, listening to your story, because you actually picked up the phone and phoned the police, but there are many men out there who are going through all this that we're talking about, the domestic abuse, the name calling, the biting, the kicking, the shouting, the yelling. Why are they reluctant to phone the police? Because your case is kind of really inspiring. Why?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, it was because I wasn't limited by any shame. If it had been maybe 10 years before or longer, or there may have been shame involved in that. And for me, it wasn't. I've done enough at that point. I'd done enough inner work to say, no, it's I'd rather just, give the police a call. And I think, again, it's because we're meant to be strong. We're meant to be strong. We're meant to stand up for ourselves as a man. You're meant to be the masculine power and the energy and have that. Yeah. So why are you going to call the police, when a girl is being abusive? You have to, you have to be the man. You have to, take this, or, and I think this is a lot of the kind of the narrative is you have to be able to take what the girl gives you.
So that narrative really has to change, really, isn't it? Yeah.
And my point of view is if it's not coming from love, if it's not coming from a good place, then, there's always a deeper reason why this comes into your experience. Yeah, that's another matter. But, if at the time you're not in that place where you're looking at the deeper reasons, you're just looking at you just want things to be calm and stable. And that's, you can just pick up the phone and say, look, this is no, this is what's happened. I asked my girlfriend to stop. She didn't stop. She continued hitting me. You know, can you come down? Yeah.
Wow. That is really good, because just saying that, because I'm just going to share a story with you. When I was doing the workshop, the training, I remember I was running a business startup, which is specifically focused on men. And what I normally do is that at the beginning of the training, I would always leave 15 minutes where we just do a bit of networking, we do a bit of talking, kind of thing. And then at the end part of it, I'll leave another 15 minutes just again to see how everybody feel. And I remember we were just all talking and talking, and then they were sharing their experience and everything. It was so emotional. It's just so inspiring. Again, I've learned so much. And all of a sudden, this guy stood up. And I think on my kind of fear, because this is a hefty guy, he stood up, and I kind of looked at him like, oh my God, I'm the only woman, thinking to myself, I'm the only woman here. And maybe as our eyes met, he must have seen that. And he gently just folded his hands above his waist. And then he started to tell his story. All right. And one of them, he was saying, he said, one of the questions he asked, he says, look at me, he said to all of us in the classroom. He said, I'm fairly decent man. I'm tall, quite fit. Imagine that you get beaten up day in, physically beaten up, sit through all the abuse and everything. He said, just imagine that. And then he went on and said, I'm a black belt karate. I train young people, karate. So I could have done anything. I could have lashed out and everything. He said, but I was so fearful because of who I am and knowing my capability. He said, I just sat there and took it. He said he got so bad and he called the police. All right. And the police came, even though he was covered with the bruises and everything, he got arrested, not the woman. He said, would you believe it? I got arrested, got removed from the house, and I was in the cell for overnight. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
And they're crazy. And then I asked him, why did you stay in the relationship? What was the reason that you stayed? The fear of him. If he walk away, he won't be able to see his children. And so a lot of men are going through that. That could possibly be maybe one of the reasons that they're not reporting them being abused to the police. Could that possibly be also one of the reasons?
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah. And the thing is men, because men tend to be physically stronger in general, women know they usually can't overpower a man. So they tend to be more emotionally abusive. Yeah. So if that's, because we, like I said, we both carry equal amounts of anger. So if you're not going to be if you can't be physically abusive, and you've got anger, then you're going to be emotionally abusive. Obviously, if you don't know how to clear that. So yeah, 100%. And, guys as well, they don't, they're worried if a woman is physically abusive, and you said the perfect points, and you're scared of losing your kids.
Yeah. That was another thing that came up during my research, and also in the classroom at the time. That came up a lot. The fear of them losing their children or not be able to see their children. That came up a lot as well. So what would you say if somebody is in that situation? What can you suggest?
I mean, to be honest with you, the work that I do, I will always encourage someone to look within to see what is it within themselves that is coming up. What is it? What's the part of themselves where maybe they're victimizing themselves, where they are because for some reason you're always in this situation for a reason, for a deeper reason. Yeah. So when someone's been abusive to you, what is it that comes up within you? What is the feelings? And that's my approach, but that's a really deep level approach. That's like, okay, so what is it really deeply? Why am I attracting this woman and then this woman and that one? They're all acting this way towards me. Yeah. And when you go deep within and then you clear it, then you'll no longer need to experience that, because you've learned the deeper lesson that life has given you, that has keep giving you repeatedly. That would be my approach. However, if you're not at that point yet, then, you know, something like, yes, you have to have the courage to pick up the phone and give the police a call and say, look, this is what I'm experiencing, and just be open and honest about it. And, you know, and yet, like this gentleman, you know, it may not always work in your favor. Yeah, but then you have to also be very calm and considered in situations that happen like that. So if you're angry and upset and you're showing your rage and you're on the phone shouting and swearing and then the police come and you're like that, then, you know, you're less likely to get a response from the police which is in your favor. Does that make sense?
It definitely makes sense. It definitely does. I just want to encourage, as we're talking about, this is a very, very sensitive topic and painful topic. And we just want to encourage any man out there who is going through this, please do report by, from the police. And you don't have to be there. And one of the things Daniel said was really, really good, that I picked up, that by the time he reached the stage of calling the police, he's already been working on himself to say no, to be able to say, no, I don't have to put up with this anymore. And I think, guys, you need to be, it's going to be difficult. It's not going to be easy, but we want to encourage you. If you are going through any of these things we're talking about, please ask for help and contact for help. Now, for somebody out there maybe new in the relationship and everything, how can they recognize that they are going through an abuse? How can they recognize that? Start seeing the steps that's coming,
Yeah, and I think it was like what we were saying before about the little perhaps put downs, the little, sort of sly comments that you get here or there, and that, once you start getting those comments, then you're like, okay, so you can see that that's painful for you. You can feel it's painful for you. Now, if this would happen to me now, I would start going deep within and say, what can I let go? What's happening? Why am I attracting this again? What haven't I let go of? That would be my approach. Yeah. Another approach, of course, would be to turn to your partner and say, I don't like the way you spoke to me just now. It hurt me. Your words hurt, hurt me. But I also know that the woman may turn around and say, well, I'm just saying what I think. Yeah. But then, it depends on the way they say it. Yeah. So you can say, okay, what you said about my character, but I didn't like it. And you could have phrased it another way. Yeah. But you say it when you're absolutely calm.
Yeah. Let me just read a few things as well. If you're going through abuse, to start recognize it. What Daniel said is really correct. And I'm just going to add in a few, and maybe we're going to go deeper in terms of what he's been talking about, to actually say to your partner, actually, no, I don't like the way you're speaking to me. I don't like the way you're talking to me. We're going to go deeply into that. But I'm going to kind of say a little bit of points that to look at if you are in a relationship as a man been abused. And one of it is that, like my colleague Daniel said, that little put down, and maybe it starts like a little joke, but really it's not joke. The criticism, everything you do is not good enough. There's always going to be an argument, the kicking, the biting, the punching. And this is the biggest one. You're ready to go to work, and she's picked up the keys and hide the keys, and also destroy your possessions. I thought, wow, belittle and be humiliated. If you're going through any of those and many, many more, all right, you are in an abusive relationship. Okay, you are in an abusive relationship. So what can you do now to kind of come out of it? Daniel, what do you think? If you name a few of them, which I really love, it's to stand up to say, actually, no, I don't like the way you're speaking to me, and the way you've spoke to me, it hurts my feeling. What else in this situation they can do more?
Well, specifically in when someone takes your keys, or
taking your keys, being humiliated in front of your friends, colleagues, family, and also verbal abuse and belittle social media, because again, that's a big thing, isn't it? The social media abuse.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you have to really sit down with yourself and question and look at what's really going on. How you feel about it, what's really going on, and do you want to continue to be with someone like that? Do you want to, but then you may be thinking, well, this happened in my previous relationship, now it's happening again. What's the reason it's happening again? All right, and then that's where you can do the deep inner work to get to the root, to heal that part of yourself that perhaps feels unworthy, because often we attract these situations because deep down we feel unworthy, we don't feel good enough, because we've got this unconscious story, and the only way that unconscious story can be made conscious is for it to attract a person or a woman who is that way, who is like that with us. And now all of a sudden we get hurt by their words. Now, if we didn't have that story in the first place, deeply locked within us, someone could say a horrible thing to us and it wouldn't bother us.
Because it's not in you.
Because it's not there. So it wouldn't bother us. But if we're getting bothered by it, if we're getting upset, then somewhere along the lines we're believing what they're saying at some way, and it's pushing with that deep-seated belief that we have, which is it's self-directed, but we don't know, we've pushed it down, we've repressed it, and now we don't know, it's all hidden, it's unconscious. So we attract someone with that energy in order to show us what we deeply believe about ourselves, and then we get upset at them. That's one way of looking at it, but it's different from the way normal people, what therapists say. But that, for me, that's a more spiritual way of looking at it, a more holistic way. It's like everything happens for a reason. We get an illness, that happens for a reason. We break our arm, that happens. There's always these deeper seated meanings, because there's just oneness. Everything's interconnected. Now, you may not be in alignment with what I'm saying, but that's okay. And if you're not, you just deal with the other aspects, like what we were saying before.
The thing about what you've said, the religious aspect, the spiritual aspects of it, and that is really, really true as well. But one of the key things as well that I feel that you spoke, and I've heard of it before, it's that sometimes we go through a journey, go through a pain, or somebody comes in and trigger us somewhere along our life or somewhere, and it's maybe because that person has come and triggered that part of you. Maybe there is healing needs to take place. But we are going to come and talk about how can you start the journey of healing, the journey of recovering, the journey of asking for help, So we are going to come back to that. But one of the things, how can we right now to be able to sort of kind of walk away from this abusive relationship? You know, I want to say, first of all, guys out there who are going through that journey, you are not alone. So don't be ashamed. Don't feel embarrassed that, you know, you are the only one that's going through that. And as Daniel is sharing openly and honestly, so it just goes to show you're not the only one there. So how can they now walk away from this relationship, from this abusive relationship? If you're a young man out there, or even an older man out there who has been in this relationship for 10 years, 2 years, 3 years, or how long ever it is, how can they start to say, recognize it and walk away from this abusive relationship?
Yeah, again, I think it's looking at yourself and looking at your feelings and saying, is this what I want to continue? Do I want to continue spending my life with someone who speaks to me in this way? That's, you know, you have to be able to ask that question. Now, if you've done enough inner work and you're looking at yourself and saying, okay, there's a reason this person's in my life and speaking to me in this way, maybe I can clear that first. And if you clear that first, then your choice that you make will come from love. But if you don't do it first, your choice will come from fear. So for me, it's always important to clear the underlying emotions first, so your choice can truly come from love. But you may not be in that state, and that's at that stage, yeah, and that's okay. In which case, you know, you have to ask yourself deeply, okay, do I want to remain in this relationship? And when you say, no, I don't want to, it's time for me to move on, then you've got to do it in the best way possible, you know, and not antagonize your partner, or, you know, just be open and honest. Look, yeah, and say, look, you know, the way you speak to me, the way you communicate with me, you know, it brings up a lot of pain. It brings up a lot of hurt. I've tried my best to speak to you in the past, and it doesn't feel that I'm being listened to. Yeah. And, you know, and then communicate that to your partner.
So really, you need to come to a point where you really, because what I'm taking from what you said is that you need to sit and take time out yourself and ask the questions. Do I need to be in this relationship? What am I getting at this relationship? Do I need to go through this pain and abuse from this partner? And I suppose those are the first steps probably a person needs to take. Yeah.
You're asking that question. And you say, do I really need to go through this? And that answer will probably be, for most cases, no, I don't need to. If you're doing deep level work within yourself, it may be, okay, there's a deeper reason I'm going through this. Maybe if I can truly clear those underlying feelings of unworthiness, I'm not going to attract this any longer. That's one way. But then the other way is, if you're not at that stage yet, do I really need to go through? No, I don't need to go through this kind of relationship. In which case, I need to do my best to leave this relationship in the best possible way.
For your health and safety. Yeah. Another thing that comes with that as well, it comes with guilt and as well, isn't it? Kind of, you've been abused, but yet you feel guilty to respond in any way.
Yeah, and you feel guilt, but then, you know, what I do is with my clients, if they feel guilt, process the guilt, clear the guilt, sit with the guilt, see the deeper reasons why the guilt is there, clear it, let it go, and now all of a sudden you don't have that guilt when you make the decision, because the guilt may stop you from making that choice. The guilt, the shame, that may stop, and you have to clear it first, so that the choice you make is made with clarity. Because if guilt exists, the choice you're making isn't made with clarity. You have to clear it.
How do they clear that off from their chest, from their heart? How do they clear that? Just give us one step, for example.
the simplest step is to sit with it in a completely unconditional way, to sit with the feeling of guilt completely without blaming anyone for it, without blaming yourself, without, just to sit with that. And because of anything sat with will eventually start to dissolve. So if you're sitting with anger for long enough without blaming anyone or blaming yourself, it will start to dissolve. You're sitting with shame for long enough, it will start to dissolve. Sadness, it's everything you sit with consciously starts to lessen, and it won't it won't have that much of a hold in you or over you. Same with anger. If you sit with the energy of anger for long enough, just be with it without getting attached in the story, going into the story and adding energy to the story, it will start to dissolve and you won't feel so angry. And it's the same with any feeling. So if someone's been abusive towards you and you're feeling unworthy, sit with that feeling of unworthiness, but without blaming them for it or without blaming yourself for it. Just sit with the energy of unworthiness and it will start to dissolve. That's deep practice. And someone may not be ready for that because it requires tenacity. It requires a lot of will, a lot of strength, and there's a lot of self-awareness, and that usually comes gradually.
And that is by taking the first step to say actually no to whoever it is that's doing that to you, to say no, this is not for me. I no longer need to be in this relationship. Another thing I just want to add on that, also I've got a few lists here, is also how can you get away from kind of abusive relationship. One of the things it says, don't blame yourself. Stop blaming yourself and everything. And one, you cannot control your partner's behavior. You cannot control your partner's behavior. Another thing, you need to treat yourself as a man, the respect that you want to be seen from your partner, and you deserve to be happy.
And
what do you think about that?
That last point was absolutely 100% spot on, because unconsciously, what I realized is I attracted someone who is abusive to me because unconsciously I was abusive towards myself. Once I saw it and started to clear it and let go of it, that sense of unworthiness which stemmed from that, it shifted my outside world. So I attracted different people into my situation. It's still an ongoing thing for me, but it's really important to understand that, that's what that last comment is absolutely spot on. You're not, in some way you will, this is a quote from a book of the Four Agreements, you will only allow someone to be abusive to you to the degree you are abusive to yourself.
Oh, it's a powerful statement.
Repeat
it one more time. But I think some people need to hear this statement that you've just said. Can you just repeat it one more time?
You only allow someone to be as abusive to you as you are to yourself, to the degree you are abusive to yourself. Any more they're abusive to you, you will leave that relationship. Okay. Now, and this is going on unconsciously, you may not even know you're doing this to yourself. But as soon as you shift that and you no longer become abusive to yourself, now either that other person's going to stop as well, or you're just going to think, no, I want to leave this relationship now. Doesn't serve me anymore. But that's really important to recognize. And this is why self-awareness is so important, to recognize how the thoughts you're saying to yourself, what are you telling to yourself? Oh, I'm not good enough. I can't do this. I can't do. It's like these things where you're having a go at yourself and constantly self-critical. And these are very subtle patterns that are going on in the mind but you're not aware of them. And then all of a sudden you attract someone who's critical of you. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. It does. So guys, if anybody out there is going through this and you want to come out that relationship, just like what Daniel says, I'm just literally repeating here. You need to come up and say, well, actually, I've stopped abusing myself. Now I'm not going to allow anybody else to abuse me in that manner anymore. And simply say no, because sometimes we don't say the word no enough in a relationship. Do you agree on that?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on what type of person you are. I mean, if sometimes you're a people pleaser, sometimes you're scared of saying no because of consequences. And that's where you need to process the fear. So, for example, if you want to leave a relationship and you're fearful of losing your children, you have to sit with that fear and clear the fear. Clear the fear so you come from your choices made with clarity. Because you could say, I'm leaving this relationship, but still be afraid of losing your kids. If that's the case, you're more likely to attract that into experience. But if you've processed and integrated the fear of loss, and you've cleared it, and you say, okay, what does the fear of losing the kids actually mean about me? What does it mean for me if I lose my kids? And you get in touch with that feeling and you say, okay, what does it mean for me? What is the fear? What's it driving? Because it could be that the fear of losing the kids means something much deeper for you, which is really painful. That could affect your entire life. I'm not worthy. I'm not good enough. If I lose my kids, I'm being abandoned. It could have all of those feelings that are creating this fear. That needs to be cleared at the deep level.
I agree. It's almost like what Alex said when he kind of lost his children and he had to move, I think whether it was Spain or what, and then he had to come to London and find himself a flat, and he just feel some part of him was kind of dead, because the children wasn't around and not wanting to play the music. Because obviously he's used to having the music playing, having a laugh, and with his children, I suppose that also play a massive part on that as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the fear of loneliness.
Yeah, that's a good
being
one.
alone.
And isolation as well, isn't it? Being isolated.
Yeah, all these sort of subtle programs drive our thinking and our emotional state. And by clearing all of that, we can actually we make decisions then based more from clarity, and we become more authentic to ourselves. Because as long as we've got these strong emotions that are locked into place, we're gonna allow them to run our decisions. So fear is going to stop us from leaving. Fear is going to stop us from picking up the phone and calling the police if we need to. Shame is going to stop us. Guilt is going to stop us. Grief it's all these, they're going to put brakes on us leading our lives more authentically.
Yeah, that's really good. That's a really good point, because they could be a massive stumbling block that is stopping the men to move forward because the shame as well. Now, we come to the end of the program, but I want to ask you, how can they start to recover? Say there's a guy who's walked away from the relationship, from this abusive relationship. How can he start to recover, to start his healing? I know this is your specialty. Can you speak to some of the men out there who are now kind of deciding, after hearing this program, they're going to take those steps and say, right, enough is enough. I'm coming out. How can they start the recovering process and the healing?
So when we're looking at the deep layer recovery, I always ask the question, can you love that person? Can you love the person that's abusive to you? If the answer is no, and I don't want to, that's okay. Yeah. But as long as you know, then you're still holding on to trauma. And someone may not be ready, because everyone does this in their own time, and they may not ever be ready for that, and that's okay. Yeah. But you know, on a superficial level, it's like, you know, you start to recover by leading a life which is more authentically of what you want to do deep down, what your heart desires to do, what you really truly want to do in your life. And it could be that, okay, so I now want a relationship where my partner treats me with respect. And if you've done your inner clearing, that will be more likely. But if you haven't cleared deep down what's within, then it may be that life gives you someone similar. And it's really important to understand that. So just, you know, for me to heal and recovery, healing and recovery is doing the inner work, but also going to groups externally and meeting people who have gone through the same thing. And just by sharing your story, that's one really powerful thing, aspect of healing and recovery. Speak with other men who have gone through the same trauma, the same situation. Speak with them, go to a group, you know, recovery group, go to therapy, and that will help you act as a catalyst to do the inner work as well.
Oh, it's fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing. I think that is really, really powerful. But one thing I also just want to add on to that list as well, don't allow shame to stop you to leave the relationship. 2, do speak up. Don't keep quiet. Speak up. Like Daniel just said, you know, join groups, men groups that's probably gone through the journey you are going through or just come out from, so that you can get the help and the support that you need. That is so, so important. Speak to families and friends. All right. Speak to family and friends. So they let them know what you're going through. And they probably would be there understanding and supportive around you. You may get some family, friends, or some people making a comment, well, you're the man. Yes, you are the man. But however, you've got feelings as well. And you deserve to be happy. You deserve to be respected. What about forgiving your ex? Would that help? Because I remember Alex saying when he made up his mind to forgive his ex, it was like a lot of pressure kind of being removed from him. So what do you think about that?
You know, that comes with time. So you may not be ready, and you may be wanting to hold on to the anger. But that's okay, as long as you know what it's doing to you. So for me, the deepest stage of forgiveness is always the ultimate journey. So when I said, could I love this person? Could I truly love them? If the answer is yes, deep down, then I know I've forgiven. And I know that, again, like what Alex was saying, it takes a huge weight off your shoulders, takes that huge tension that you're carrying everywhere. And when you forgive that individual, you're not only helping yourself, you're helping every relationship with every other woman that comes to you. But if you don't forgive, you're going to carry that unforgiveness into your next relationship.
That is so true.
Yeah, that's going to harm that relationship as well. So ultimately, could I love this individual? Could I love this person? That's the key. And that was for me when I split off with my ex-wife. I always set an intention. My intention is to love her. I wasn't there at first, but gradually I got to that place where, you know, now I'm loving her as a friend, as, you know, and, you know, now if she ever asks me for anything, I'll help her out no matter what. I'll drop everything, I would help her out, you know. And that for me is really important.
That is fantastic. Thank you very much for sharing with that. I mean, we do understand everybody's in a different situation, different relationships, but do take on board that there is help out there. And if you want to reach out to Daniel, that he specialized on that. Daniel, how can these people, that the men out there we've been talking about, how could they reach you if they want to work with you?
Yeah, just through my website, clearthepath.co.uk, or my email address, which is danield@clearthepath.co.uk. And yeah, just feel free to reach out, and happy to just have a conversation at first. And
yeah, fantastic. And if you feel that way, please also you can reach out to us. Let's Change Your Life with Margaret Pauly, the Father Talk Show. But we have got an amazing program that's coming up, and a training program or workshop for men that is coming up. Just as soon as we got the dates and everything set, we will let you know, which is that the program is called The Power of Single Fatherhood. All right. And most of the stuff we've been talking about, it'll be coming up in part of the training. So we would love you very much to come and join us on that training, because we're going to be having experts, speaker, facilitator on that training as well. And yes, I have got my book, which is the Unbreakable Bonds, the Journey of a Single Father. And in the book, actually, I cover quite a lot of these topics that we've been talking about as well. Forgiving your ex, co-parenting, how does that work? And all the trauma that goes with it and how you can heal. So the book is out. You can get that book in Amazon. And yes, we're coming to the end of the show. I want to say thank you to my co-host, no longer a guest. I love it. I was thinking this one, oh yeah, he's right. What he said yesterday, he turned up every Saturday. And I say thank you to my co-host, and I want to say thank you so much for supporting us and being with us. Yes, we've got another show next week. Hopefully we will have a guest speaker as well. Stay tuned. Thank you very much for your support. We love you.
thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We love you, and we look forward
Next week.
Saturday. Thank you. Right, don't go away. The recording is